This is me still waiting for Catherine Pugh to say anything. This is Corey, and this is the O The Anthem Podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is 2:13 Pacific. That makes it 5:13 Eastern Time. And the O The Anthem Podcast is live from coast to coast, broadcasting to you from the beautiful #OTALA studios overlooking the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. This is episode 173. Welcome.
Yep. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for sharing. Thank you very much for telling people. Every single thing is appreciated. 5-star reviews on iTunes, the whole kit and caboodle.
And yes, it's not iTunes anymore. It's Apple Podcast.
Apple Podcasts.
Yes.
Whatever.
But make sure you are following along at O The Anthem on all your social networks. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find us at youtube.com/O The Anthem.
Speaking of Apple news, did you hear that they got rid of every iPod except for the iPod Touch? It's the only one that remains.
No, I didn't, because I don't buy Apple products because they do shit like that. I just love that I'm shopping for a new laptop, and everyone's like, "Why aren't you getting a Mac?" And I'm like, "Because why? Why would I? Because I want to pay twice as much."
I'm not Daddy Warbucks.
And what have half the functionality maybe? Like
Yeah.
our discussion about get the $300 laptop and then spend an extra $100 on your own time to make it the $900 laptop.
Right. Put in the new air filter and the blow off valve and all the other things that make it go faster, and then you're good.
And I could do that for an extra $150.
Put on a carbon fiber hood.
I do enjoy the carbon fiber hood. The only thing I like
the sticker carbon fiber hood. Like, I can't afford the real carbon fiber hood, but people know I'm going to get it when I can afford the $2,000 hood.
And speaking of people who can afford things, apparently the Orioles could afford to make a couple moves here as we're heading into August.
Well, one move, at least.
So,
for the very least.
We were talking about, I don't think we talked about it on the podcast, but we were talking in our personal life about how the trade deadline was approaching and whether or not the Orioles were going to make any moves. And it looks like they made a move, and you were not happy this week.
No. So the Orioles late last night, it turns out we found that they were trading for Jeremy Hellickson of the Philadelphia Phillies.
And initially, though, you were happy.
I mean, I was okay. I mean, it seemed like that would be a move that you could get for a very low minor league prospect, like somebody who wasn't really like in the plans for the future. Now, obviously, any Oriole pitcher that the Orioles trade who isn't in the plans will become an ace by the time they're traded to.
Of course. Yeah. Yes, of course.
I mean, he's going to
the move of his career is leaving the Orioles.
Garrett Clevenger is now going to be the best pitcher the Phillies have. He's going to win a Cy Young next year. Yeah. It's all preordained because the Orioles traded him for nothing.
Right.
And then there were other things that kept popping up. It's like trading him for a minor leaguer. I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds exactly what it should be.
Yeah.
Then it's just like, and a major league player. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? And it's like international bonus money. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
How bad do we need a pitcher?
Yeah. And it turns out that the major league pitcher was Hyun-Soo Kim.
The major league player.
Yeah, the major league player.
Yeah.
And I am not pleased because I really, really think that he wasn't playing. Yeah. So you can make the argument that it was.
We have a plethora of outfielders.
You might have DFA'd him if you didn't have to trade a major league player just to get him on the roster. I argue that you should DFA Ubaldo instead, but who am I? But I think that Kim was tragically misused this season.
He had the worst career in Baltimore. Started out being booed on opening day by these guys. By the way, we booed him.
I didn't boo him.
Okay, well, I booed him. That may have been the Jack Daniels.
I think I might have done like be a team player and go to AAA or something like that. I didn't like actually boo though. My opinion was negative, but it wasn't that of the Philly fans who boo.
And he started out rough with the fans, but then proved himself in short order.
Yeah,
playing every third day or whatever, and batting 350 or whatever it was on those days. It
was by the end of the season he had led the league or led the team in batting average 302, and
just not playing every single day.
And looked this up yesterday. Tweeted it out. He was in the top 20 in the entirety of Major League Baseball with on-base percentage, which is what the Orioles desperately need. Yeah. They need somebody who can get on base, because part of the pitching, defense, and 3-run home run thing that the Orioles have, that has traditionally been the Oriole way, means getting people on base before somebody hits a home run.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have Hyun-Soo Kim get on base and then Chris Davis hits a home run,
now we have 2 runs.
Yeah, now we have 2 runs instead of 1.
So, of course, coming into this season, they changed that, and they played him every single day.
Nope.
Nope. Yeah.
Sat on the bench. And he was like 5th in line behind Rickard and Seth Smith. And, listen.
He was batting against left-handed pitchers. That's really how I saw him being used.
Right, but in Korean leagues, he had pretty even splits between lefties and righties. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that the Korean leagues and major leagues are the same thing, but you should, at the very least, give him a chance. Because, I mean, like, again, if you're facing Chris Sale, then, I get why you sit him against the lefty. Like, he might not be good. But, when you're facing, some minor left-hander, why not just let him see what happens, I mean, like, Sabathia isn't untouchable anymore. Let's give him an at-bat or two against Sabathia and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because
if you didn't. They sat him.
No, they always sat him, and they took him out for defense, which I get. But I mean, like, if you value the defense that much, I mean, Trumbo's a better defender than Kim,
right?
So play Trumbo in the field and Kim as DH, and then you have his bat in the lineup, getting on base for other people who might hit home runs.
This is why he's okay to trade, because he's not an everyday player, and we have a plethora of outfielders, and his bat isn't making that big of an impact. So let's trade him. Now, could he have? Sure, but we don't know that. He may have played every day and lowered the average.
I don't get why he was on Buck shit list so much. Like, it never seemed like he got out of the hole.
Probably from that original thing of not following the direction.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's. I mean, at the end of the day, like, they were both going to be gone at the end of the season. Both Hellickson for the Phillies and Kim for the Orioles. Yeah. And it's not like we were going to use him for the last 2 months, so what's the point? But I mean, I feel like
gave up more than just Kim.
I just feel like Dan Duquette got fleeced and real bad. Like, I just feel like he started getting into this thing where it's just like the Chris Davis negotiations, where he was just basically negotiating against himself.
Right.
Like, he's like, this is the best offer we're going to do, and nobody came anywhere close to it. And then all of a sudden, a better offer came along. From the Orioles. Like, they just upped their own ante. So I don't know if, like, they basically had a thing going, like, with the Phillies, where it's just like, yeah, we'll give you Hellickson for minor leaguer, and it's just like, all right, sounds like we have a deal. Oh, wait a minute, hold on a second. No, I'm sorry, we need international signing money too. It's like, well, we don't need any of that, so might as well give that to you too. And Hyun-Soo Kim. Oh, come on now. We need something else to make this deal work if we're going to give up Hyun-Soo Kim. You sure? All right, fine, whatever. You can take on. It seems like Dan Duquette just, like, gets talked into, like, whatever. Like,
well, that's because he really wants to be in Toronto building their team.
We'd have a deal for Ubaldo, for Jose Altuve, and then all of a sudden it's just like, all right, so here's the deal. We get Marwin Gonzalez, and we gave up Manny Machado, Jonathan Scope, and Zach Britton. It's like, wait a minute, how'd that happen?
But yeah, so, I mean, we had said in years past, like, we have to trust Dan. And that trust had faded over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, not making the playoffs really does that to you. It's hard to have faith when you're not making the playoffs. Is this the straw that broke the camel's back?
No. I mean, I just don't. I guess what I'm thinking is that when McPhail made those trades, it transformed the organization.
Right.
Bringing in Jones and Tillman and Sherrill and all these players from the Bedard trade.
By the way, the one that you talked shit about, you hated that trade.
I didn't hate that trade.
You did. You hated that we traded away Bedard.
I couldn't see the forest through the trees. I heard the things I had heard about Jones and Tillman from the get was that these guys weren't going to be like quality major league players. They were going to be like Adam Jones is going to be like a Nolan Reimold type, like the type who's in and out of the lineup, and he shows flashes, but he's never really there.
But Andy McPhail, we could fucking trust.
He knew what he was doing. If Andy McPhail made a trade, I instantly believe whatever he was selling me.
Yeah, like, when Adam Jones becomes a franchise player, then you're like, all right, Andy, who are we trading? The entire infield for one player? Sure, okay,
yeah,
good.
Whatever you say.
He's just going to cover the whole infield. We got you. All right.
I'm a little bit nervous now going into the trade deadline is on Monday.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit nervous that we're going to trade Brock and Britton, and we're going to get nothing in return for either one of them.
But here's a question. Are you okay with trading either one of them or both if we do get something?
If we do get something, yes, I'm okay. I'd rather trade one or the other as opposed to both, because I feel like one or the other can take over for the other. If Britton gets traded, that Brock can be the closer kind of thing.
And Brock was covering in the closing position.
Yeah, and he was doing fine. I mean, we got spoiled with the unbelievable antics of Zach Britton and his 55 straight saves.
I think he's up to 57 now, right? Is he at 57?
No,
56?
I think he's at 55 still.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Regardless.
Oh, he hasn't had a save opportunity.
Yeah, no.
Surprise. Yeah.
Weird. I would like if the Orioles, much like when you field a team, you have to have one person at every position.
Yeah.
Like you can't play without a second baseman. You can't have extra outfielders. You have to have the positions filled. I'd like the Orioles to have like a thing in their head going like, we have to play 3 people who have an on-base percentage of over 340.
Yeah.
Like in the lineup every day, required. And then you go like, oh God, what are we going to do to
who's going to be that person?
Who are we taking out? It's like, well, you're not going to take out, Davis or Scope or Machado. And you're not going to take out Jones. Yeah, unless it's rest day. So you got to figure out how you're going to fit on-base percentage guys in with all those other parts, and just figure out a way that you can get a team that gets on base every once in a while, because that's what's killing me. Like,
do you
listen? There's nothing. My basic viewership of the Orioles this season has been have the game on every single day, but not necessarily watch every single pitch.
Yeah,
because I'll walk in and out and see whether or not they're rallying.
Like, come back in
because
8-1.
There's no point in watching like if the first 7 innings they don't have a hit. Like I don't need to sit there and go through that. Like when they start putting people on base in like the 8th, I'm like, oh okay, I'll watch now. But like I need ducks on the pond. That's what I need, and I need more pitching, more starting pitching.
Do you see a trade out there that would make sense for the Orioles? Well, first of all, is the Brock or Britton trade we're giving up on this season?
Oh,
and
yeah.
We're looking to just make 2018 better.
I mean, I think what the decision they're trying to make is we're a good enough team. We were expecting to do well this season. Things didn't go as planned.
We're only 5.5 games out though, or the wild card.
More than that now.
Oh yeah, I guess after yesterday and the day before. So
after the many losses that have piled up.
7.5 games out.
Something like that. Yeah. It's just there's too much to overcome this season, I feel like, to make an honest run at it.
So now we got to think about 2018.
The core is still in place for next year.
Yeah.
So the players that you would lose, like Tillman, probably is not. He hasn't been doing anything for this year's team. So.
Hasn't won since opening day. Is that what I saw yesterday? I think he's won since opening day.
It's we're 8 games back in the East. That's pretty much done, and we are 6.5 back in the wild card.
With a
but
month
we
and a
have
half to play.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams ahead of us.
Yeah.
Now 6.5 is not, the end of the world, but it's certainly
the
not
Rockies
easy.
won 25 to get into the playoffs.
I think the Dodgers at one point had won like 31 of 35 games or something like that. I mean, if the Orioles do that, then yes, we're right back in this thing.
Right.
But I just don't have a lot of confidence that that's going to happen. And then if we get to the playoffs, I mean, it's all a crapshoot. But the Orioles just seem to like even grip the bat harder when it comes to playoff time, and they're always going for the home run. They're never trying to get like manufacture a run or anything like that. And I'm not saying I don't like the home runs. I love them. And when we're hitting a lot of them, it's the most fun you can have in baseball. But when there's no hits going on, when everyone's striking out and nobody's getting on base, you're like, something has to change.
Yeah.
Just like I would almost rather have a pitching staff of players who I think I brought up like Ivan Nova to you like a couple weeks ago. Like Ivan Nova's not a star. He's not an ace. He's not, Bumgarner or Kershaw or anything like that. But he's the type of pitcher who pretty much every single time he goes out pitches 7 innings and gives up 4 runs. Yeah. If you gave me that, if you gave me 5 starters like that, which could be had for, $10-15 million a year per starter, then we are good enough to make up the difference.
Win those games.
Yeah. And if you feel like you only need to score 3 runs to get back into this game as opposed to needing to score 8 runs to get back into the game, then it's a way different thing.
So, do you see a trade out there that makes sense for the Orioles right now? What trade would you make? Or what are you pitching if you're Dan Duquette?
I would want to try and load up on a major league ready starter and at least 2 other high-end pieces for like Britain.
Okay.
Like I want somebody who can start for the Orioles right away and somebody who would be starting for us next year.
Yeah.
And then 2 pieces that can conceivably be a part of next year or the year after.
Because next year's it for Manny.
Yeah.
Realistically.
Yeah.
So if we're going to win, give Manny a World Series in Baltimore. It's going to be next year.
I would almost like for someone like Manny, like I feel like I don't know what the free agency class for next year looks like, but I would almost be willing to play like musical chairs with who's in the infield just to get another. Like I know he's not available, but I'm just making an example. Like DJ LeMahieu of the Rockies is like a 300 hitter with 20 home runs, second baseman.
Yeah,
you're like, well, we have Scope, so why would we do that? Well, Scope's been playing some short, so make it Manny, Scope, LeMahieu.
Right,
and then you got somebody who gets on base, hits for average, gets on in front of players who can hit the home runs. And then just sort of that one move right there fixes a lot of ills,
especially a shortstop that is less than reliable when it comes to injuries.
And I mean, like, listen, I love JJ, but it's just
getting old.
It's just past time for JJ. So,
and he gets to end his career here, which is great. I mean, at a place that truly has loved him over the last few years.
Yeah.
So. I think you can't beat that. Well, from one sport to the other, we had a lot of big news happen for the Ravens this week as well.
Yeah.
Because they had the opportunity to jump on a Super Bowl caliber quarterback who is, for some reason, available. A quarterback who's played in a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Who was,
Gerback?
For some reason, available. And they, of course, jumped on the opportunity because our quarterback's going to be down.
Nobody's jumped on the opportunity.
Yeah.
There's plenty of teams that have.
All of you. No, that's not true. Didn't he get picked up by the Jets?
No.
I thought he got signed by the Jets.
No. He's still out there. Nobody wants him.
Here, you talk.
Okay.
I think that's incorrect.
Did something happen today?
I think it happened late yesterday.
Oh. The venerable quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens, Joe Flacco, has a back injury. And there's been some talk about bringing in another quarterback to fill out the...
No, somebody leaked that they were going to, but they didn't. Yeah, they passed.
And Colin Kaepernick, the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, who's former quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, who led them to a Super Bowl.
Yes.
Did not do well the last 2 seasons under them.
Didn't play every game either.
No, I mean, like he was relegated to a bench player last year. But he's available, and there's been some talk about maybe Harbaugh brought it up without being asked about it. Like maybe we bring in Kaepernick, or maybe he'd be a good fit for a backup spot. Because
Joe may not be available. It won't probably be available in camp.
Right.
May not be available week 1.
Right. He could be out the start of the season.
Yeah.
And all the people bitching about Colin Kaepernick coming to the Ravens. Okay, so here's my basic principle. I think Kaepernick is good enough to play. I think he deserves a chance. I think that like the Ravens signed, just for depth purposes, a Arena League quarterback yesterday.
Yes.
Just to take snaps.
Yeah.
There's no reason that an Arena League quarterback should be picked above Kaepernick. I think Kaepernick has the higher upside.
And you could probably get him for the same price at this time. Like, really, realistically.
I mean, that's the other thing. We don't know what is out there. Maybe somebody had offered Kaepernick like a league minimum salary, and he's just like, "Fuck you, I'm better than that."
I don't think that happened.
I don't know. You don't know though. I'm just saying,
maybe not.
I mean, there is always that chance that something.
Scott Boras his agent? That could be problematic.
5-year guarantee, $20 million a year.
Fire Scott Boras if he's your manager. This is going to be a problem.
But yeah, there was a lot of complaints from many Raven fans that I heard one person who said, even the fact that they thought about bringing him in is making me think about canceling my season tickets. And I'm just like, wow, you have a remarkably low bar.
Was he wearing a Ray Rice jersey while he posted
Probably.
this on Facebook?
That's the one that gets me. Like, listen, Kaepernick, despite what you may think of him, has never been in trouble.
No.
Has never had even a whiff of trouble associated with him, other than the sort of perceived trouble of the sitting during the kneeling during the anthem.
That's not trouble. That is a First Amendment, exercising his First Amendment.
Right, but I mean, like, it's let me put it this way. I guess it's attention.
Sure. Okay,
it's attention that's brought to him because of something that he's doing.
Like Ray Rice got some attention in an elevator.
Right.
Ray Lewis got some attention in an Atlanta nightclub.
Yeah.
What other players have we had who had attention places that we
Michael Vick had some attention with some pit bulls.
Yes. Well, I mean, he didn't play for Baltimore. But we have had players, and all of you...
Terrell Suggs has had attention from grabbing his wife by the hair and dragging her in a moving car.
Yeah.
I mean, like...
Here's the thing. If you were one of the ones who were standing up and being like... and, you know, to be fair, we said... Ray Rice, what he was saying last season, where he was like, I'm going to donate my whole salary to, education on domestic violence. And like, okay, good. Give him a second chance. It looks like he's learned his lesson. His now wife has forgiven him, and maybe it's time to let the man play. But if you were out there saying, we should definitely get Ray Rice back, and now you're saying no to Kaepernick, you're a fucking hypocrite. And shut the fuck up.
Here's the thing. It's attention, as we'll use it as like sort of a generic term for everything that a player can.
But can we be
clear?
Negatively
flagged for?
Can we be clear though? What Kaepernick did and what Ray Rice did, or Ray Lewis did, or Terrell Suggs did, or any other number of NFL players have done, not equal. Not an equal.
No. I mean, like, clearly
we're going to use one term, but these are not the same thing.
Right, but I'm saying what attention does, regardless, is that. Even if you never cause any actual problems, like you've never assaulted somebody or you haven't raped somebody or murdered somebody or anything like that, even if you're like Plaxico Burress, who never did anything wrong, but he was always a loudmouth and shot himself, then like, like people didn't want to deal with Plaxico prior to the shooting himself.
Right. Because
he was always bringing this negative attention to himself by talking and just being a loudmouth. And then he shot himself, and then people really didn't want any part of him, I mean, like, he didn't do anything wrong. He just he wasn't ingratiating himself to the people who would want to hire him. Though.
Right.
That's the thing. I would say that what this boils down to is, like, the reason Ray Rice isn't playing in the NFL right now is because he's not good enough to play in the NFL anymore, at least in the opinion of the people who make those decisions.
Okay.
They don't want to deal with the headache of bringing in Ray Rice if he's going to be a third-string running back.
Right. His value doesn't exceed the cost right now.
Yeah. And it would be nice to give him another chance and let him, like, prove whether or not he's good enough to do it, but nobody's going to give him that opportunity.
And to be fair,
that's a skill conversation.
When he was playing for the Ravens, people were saying he didn't have the skills to play.
Yeah, that last year was terrible.
Yeah.
And then you have people like Michael Vick, who did things that, I mean, like, you can argue the value of a human versus a dog life, but let's at least put out there that Michael Vick killed several dogs.
Yeah.
Ray Rice, and I'm not trying to, make a power ranking of what is the worst crime, but I'm saying that, Ray Rice had, to our knowledge, one hit on his wife, fiance at the time, and Michael Vick viciously killed several dogs
over a
long, consistent period of time,
and would have continued had he not gotten caught.
Right.
Would still probably be doing it today. Had he not gotten caught.
And again, I'm not. We can basically agree that those two crimes, though, are similarly awful.
Similarly awful, not equal, but
right.
Both
similarly awful.
They crossed. Let's think of it like a race. They both crossed the awful.
Yeah, they both crossed the awful line, but
yes.
they haven't. Where they end is completely different.
Yes, yeah.
But Michael Vick gets signed right away because Michael Vick has talent, and people wanted him, and
even as a second string, doesn't matter.
Yeah, we would gladly give up. We would gladly say, like, oh, he did his time and he needs his chance, and like I was more of the mind that Michael Vick should never play again.
Right.
I was so angry about that when he went to jail and when there were teams talking about signing him and stuff like that. I said this is not good. He shouldn't be on an NFL roster, but he fixed himself. He
did his time.
He played well enough to deserve to get more chances to play. And
sure.
That's where we are.
So are you saying that Kaepernick is falling into the Ray Rice thing?
Well, that's the question, because Kaepernick last season was not very good. I mean, he was on a team. Not very good team. He was on a team that wasn't helping him at all.
Yeah. I mean, if he had gone to play for Oakland when what's his name had broken when Derek Carr broke his leg, I think he would mesh well with that Oakland team.
I mean, I just feel like if let's say Kaepernick was second on the depth chart to Flacco,
okay,
and then Mallett was the third string quarterback,
okay.
It gives you the option that if Flacco goes down injured, you can bring in Kaepernick to play, or you can bring in Mallett to play, because you're only allowed to have 2 dressed quarterbacks at a time.
Right.
So if you want to continue running the same kind of offense that you do with Flacco, then you can bring Mallett in as his replacement. But if you keep Kaepernick as the second string, then you would be able to bring in Kaepernick to run sort of like a not wildcat, but like, a more dynamic offense,
run and gun offense, which Flacco clearly can't run.
And I don't know. I can see the value in that. I think that it would be beneficial to have different looks at quarterback, and if you're not using Kaepernick all the time and you're just using him from time to time to try and like create an advantage, I think everyone's looking for any little advantage they can have. But is he closer to Ray Rice where he's done,
right,
or is he closer to Michael Vick where there's still some value in him? Just the noise is so loud that nobody's willing to give him a chance.
The difference is Ray Rice was on a Baltimore team that wasn't that bad. And we were bad because of the injuries, but we weren't bad because we were a bad team.
Yeah.
And he looked bad on that team.
Yeah.
And Kaepernick looked bad, but he also was on a team that had no one to throw to, and the line was shit, and he was just getting sacked all the time. So it's hard to make that same comparison.
And with a bad coach and a bad system, and
once he started kneeling, nobody wanted him there, and like it was like the coach was like, all right, guard, you're gonna kneel down on the hike and just let him come through and hit him. It was just a bad situation, and I think that he can run an offense. I don't think he's as physically gifted as Flacco, because Flacco's got a fucking cannon and he can just launch it 60 yards, but he also can move around, and Flacco can't do that. And there is that dynamic thing of like, if you have Flacco in for 50 minutes, let's say, or not 50 minutes, but 90% of the game, and then you dress Kaepernick as a running back, and have him come in and run a wildcat.
Not even. I mean, like, you can just have Kaepernick as the backup quarterback, and then have him come in from for a spell. So
he comes in and
much
he
like
runs,
Steve Smith was a starting wide receiver, but he wasn't on every single play.
Sure, But so have him come in and run some dynamic plays, and especially in 2 minutes, because Flacco seems to be shit in the 2-minute drill.
Well, I mean, even consider this. Like, there were many times last season where the Ravens were up by a certain amount, like up by 6 points, going into the last 5 minutes of the game, and then we couldn't get the running game to keep the clock running.
Yeah.
So Flacco would have to try and make some 3rd and 7 pass, and that would go incomplete, and then we're punting. If you had Kaepernick in a situation like that, where he had the ability to try and elude people and make some space and gain a little bit of yardage, I mean, you're essentially adding another running back to the play, and then you don't have to worry so much about whether Kaepernick's arm is good enough to thread the needle on the. We're not trusting him to do that part. We're trusting him to keep the play alive.
Flacco's there to throw downfield if he decides not to check down to the tight end or the running back. And Kaepernick's there to run we need to keep the clock moving.
So much of the Ravens offense is based upon movement behind the line of scrimmage, like tossing to a running back, or, the 39 screen passes that they do per game. Like Kaepernick seems like he would be able to run that kind of offense. If that's what we're going to do, I feel like he would be a good benefit to it.
But more importantly to me, he has experience, and the guy that we brought in has no experience.
Well, I mean, the guy we brought in was strictly to help run practices. Like they could have gotten one of us to do that. Like,
I mean, listen, guys, I've been a lot cheaper than that guy. Just fly me out; it'll be fine. So what? We're going with Ryan Mallett to start the season? Is that?
I mean, if Flacco's not ready, but I mean, like, I think that Ryan Mallett would be the more suitable replacement to the offense that we're running. But I'm saying,
but it's a bad offense. That's we looked bad last year.
I get it, and what I think that every team needs is different looks at different. Like, what was the shit? Completely losing track of it, but there was many running back tandems throughout NFL history where you had like the bruiser and you had the speedster, like in the same backfield.
Right.
So you'd have a like a Priest Holmes who was like quick and shifty, and at the same time you'd have something O'Neal or something like that. I can't remember. It was the fullback. Anyway, you have the bruiser and you have the speedster.
Yeah.
And it gives different looks. And when you need to get 1 yard, you bring in the bruiser. When you need to get 7 yards, you bring in the speedster. You know, like it's just different looks for different opportunities. And I think that Kaepernick would be able to fill that. But the more pressing thing, at least probably to the Ravens signing him, is the amount of people who are upset about the idea of the Ravens signing him.
And it's ridiculous, though. Like, I still don't understand why this is an issue. I didn't understand it last year where people were very upset about it. I don't understand it now. I would have been stoked to go buy a Kaepernick Ravens jersey. Mm-hmm. Not to burn, to wear. And probably to get shit from people about it.
Yeah.
But fuck you guys, I don't care. Like, I don't understand why people are so upset. Again, we have continually backed alleged rapists, alleged murderers, alleged... what did Ray Lewis? It wasn't murder. His was not cooperating with authorities. Yes, that was what he was eventually on trial for. But
obstruction of justice, I think it was essentially.
All these people, we continually just say, but we're gonna still back them because there are guys like this is another one where I would be happy to say, hey, I'm not gonna get up for the national anthem either. I'm sitting with Kaepernick. Let's do it.
Literally, Suggs is like the worst person on this team. And
worst, morally speaking.
Yeah, and I mean, like people just do not want to even think about like what he did because they want to not have to be in that emotional quandary.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just what I find is that it's the same lines that were drawn with the Freddie Gray versus police department that everyone I used to see on Facebook say like. Oh, Mosby's going out of control and she's, these guys didn't do anything wrong and I can't believe she's bringing charges and this is just all political grandstanding and blah, 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 blah. They're the same people who are just like, if Kaepernick comes to this team, I'm burning everything. I'm never coming back to a game again.
Good.
And then the people who are, the demanding justice for Freddie Gray side are the ones who are like, yeah, bring Kaepernick in. It sounds like it'd be a great point for the team.
Yeah.
The worry is that you think about it like Hollywood.
Okay.
You can have Mel Gibson, who's one of the best stars that Hollywood has ever had.
Sure.
He's got trouble associated with him.
He's got attention, yeah.
He's got attention associated with him.
Yeah.
But when he's on his best, he's created exemplary work.
Yeah.
And as a director, he's been doing very well. And he comes to you and says, I have this script that is amazing. You read it. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. I have a cast lined up like you wouldn't believe for my World War II movie taken from the perspective of the Germans.
Okay.
And you're just like, oh, God. So
there's a lot of attention.
Things line up nicely. We have an amazing cast, an amazing script, a director who seems to know what he's doing,
especially when it comes to World War II movies.
And this is the type of movie that under normal circumstances we can make for $100 million and clear $750 million on the back end. But what if we go through all these processes and it doesn't make money?
Yeah.
Then we are all fucked, real bad. So do you want to go out and spend the money on Kaepernick and then just have him be worse than he was before? And him just being done and not being able to do it? Or do you want to sign him on the off chance that maybe he has turned himself around?
I want to sign him to make the statement that you should be able to work.
I mean, I feel like somebody should sign Kaepernick.
Yeah.
And just there's too many people who are not willing to deal with the potential of this all blowing up in their face.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Well, speaking of things that blew up in people's faces, it has been an interesting week in Washington, D.C., and we got to...
I'm trying to do a McConnell face. It's not going very...
We got to, luckily because we're on the West Coast, we got to stay up to
We didn't have to stay up till 2 a.m.
It wasn't too late, but we got to see the entire healthcare vote that went forward this week.
Yeah.
So for those of you who haven't been paying attention,
I thought. By the way, this going into this week, I figured this was going to be Rob picking on me for saying a nice thing about John McCain.
Yes.
I thought that was going to be this entire episode was Rob just hammering me about John McCain.
And if you follow us on Twitter, at LegendCB5, at Robert N. Cheek, at O The Anthem, you would have seen some of that from earlier this week.
Yep.
But on Tuesday, the Senate held a motion to proceed, which was to push a bill on Thursday. Wasn't it Thursday?
Yes.
Tuesday and Thursday. Yeah, on Thursday to have a vote to basically approve a skinny Obamacare repeal, which would then go to conference with the House. And their goal was to get a bill that they could put on President Trump's desk ASAP, get it signed, give him a win, go. So McCain, if you haven't been following along, by the way, this is the fourth time that the Obamacare repeal or replacement or something has come up for a vote.
Yeah.
All three times, McCain has voted yes for that. So on Tuesday, Corey made a very heartfelt defense of John McCain based on his statements.
Yeah, so John McCain flew back into Washington after having surgery to remove a blood clot, which turned out to be inoperable brain cancer.
Not inoperable. He operated on it.
They operated on it, but they can't operate on the part that is still in there.
Okay.
They removed what they can. There is still cancer within his brain. That they're going to be doing the radiation and stuff like that to try and cut out.
Yeah.
But I'm saying he's health is not good for John McCain at the moment. He had a real scare. And comes back on Tuesday. They have the procedural vote. And then he has to address the House, the House of Senate, Senate, all the Senate members.
Which McConnell doesn't fight because he's like... John
McCain might rally us
about
here.
To tell you something.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Yeah, McCain, go ahead.
And basically, McCain has a speech that goes, we have not done anything. We have been fighting over partisan battles. We have not been doing what the Senate usually does, which is work together to try and get things that pass with 60 votes. Mm-hmm. And I want to bring back the days of the Senate that comes to consensus rather than the Senate that is trying to do anything they can to tear the world apart, essentially.
Yeah.
And he says things like, this bill as it currently stands, I will not vote for if it comes to the floor for a vote.
Right.
And I hear all this and I say, wow, what a finally somebody says it out loud. I've been waiting so long. I've been waiting this entire year for somebody to be an adult and recognize the problems that there are and say something out loud. And while I don't necessarily trust John McCain, I will say that, this is him turning a new leaf. I'm very excited.
Right. Which wasn't exactly how you put it the first time you mentioned it.
I mean, we said it in many more words than I said it, right?
You were very much more absolutist. John McCain has turned a corner. This is going to be him bringing back the old way. He is going to do these things. And then after our discussion, you backed off a little bit and were like, I'm just hoping that he's going to be doing this.
Well, I mean, everything was based off of the action.
Right.
I mean, it's like me saying, I'm going to win an Oscar this year. It's like, okay, well, that's a great statement. Now, win an Oscar.
Right. But despite this huge speech, he did vote on the motion to proceed, which pushed the bill forward for a vote on Thursday. And everyone was waiting for this huge vote. Now, Heller voted on the motion to proceed yes as well, which was a sign to everyone that the anti-Trump alliance had lost Heller. And that he was probably going to vote yes on the skinny repeal as well.
Right.
So that left Murkowski and Collins, who have, by the way, voted no on every single Obamacare repeal that Trump has put forward. So they have been the stalwarts holding out and making sure that you still have insurance.
Along with all the Democrats.
The Democrats are doing it because they don't like Trump. And it has nothing to do with that because you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. Yeah, Obamacare sucks. We need to fix it, but we're going to block this. No. I don't give them any pass. The people who stand on their ideals and say, this is what I should be looking for, but this is not the right way to do it.
Right.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Because the Democrats are just being political. I don't give a shit about that. The same way John McCain. Same things I said about John McCain.
Yeah.
He's just doing it for political gain. These two women have said, no, this is not the right way to do this. It is something I should be for, but the way that we're doing it is wrong, and I'm not going to let you do this. So they stood strong through every single vote, including voting no on the motion to proceed, which didn't matter because with Heller dropping, it was 50-50, and Pence cast the deciding vote, and it went on to Thursday. And then we sat around. I think we turned it on probably around 10:30, and
something like that.
That would have been no. It had to be 9:30 because it was pushing. It was after midnight Eastern.
Right.
Time. And they delayed, and
there was a lot of wrangling on the Senate floor. Like
Pence
walking around trying to talk anybody into
changing a vote. And then the moment came. Possibly, if you guys didn't get to see it, go find a video of John McCain casting his vote on the bill. And
if you can find it with Stone Cold Steve Austin stuff too, that's great because that was one of the funniest things I've seen in a while.
But McConnell is taking an unusual position where he's standing in front of the tables that are in front of the president's desk.
Yeah.
And he's just
giving people the eyeballs.
While you're casting your vote, I am looking at you, and you better know what's up. And then they call McCain, and he's not in the room.
Yeah.
So they move on to the next one. But they have speakers in the cloakroom, which is where he was, and they get down to the P's, and then you see John McCain strolling out, and McConnell turns towards him, and as they move towards each other, they're standing at opposite sides of the corner of the desk.
Yeah.
John McCain looks towards the clerk, trying to get his attention.
Holds up the hand like...
Right here?
Boom.
That's a no vote. But in the most stone cold fashion, then turns towards McConnell, gives him like a 2-second yep, and then goes back and sits down right next to Murkowski. Yeah. It was political theater at its highest. Like that's the kind of shit that you would write into a script.
Yeah.
That these two guys, this guy who had been made fun of, insulted multiple times by the president, and then hailed as if that had never happened.
Yeah, don't forget, I like the Trump quote of, I like my soldiers not to get captured.
Yeah.
In regards to John McCain, who spent how many years in a POW camp?
7.
7 years in a POW camp.
Stayed so that other people could go home first, because as an officer, he could have gone home very, very soon after he was captured. Stayed to make sure everyone in his camp went home before he did. Tortured, so that now he can't lift his arms above midway because his shoulders were broken and healed incorrectly.
Yeah, because he was hanging like this in a POW camp for 7 years.
And captured, meaning shot down in his plane over Vietnam. The same war that Trump stayed home for because he had bone spurs. Got 3 deferments until the end of the war. Yeah. Nonetheless, Trump
probably should have just said he was a transgender and then he wouldn't have to go.
I don't even want to get into that because until we figure out what the military is going to do. But trust, guys, when we figure out what the military policy is actually going to be, we will be talking about Trump's transgender ban.
By the way, just real quick, though, I just as a this is not normal reminder to you.
Yeah.
When a president had traditionally said something like no more transgender in the military, they had a plan.
Yeah.
So that when people start asking questions...
to the Joint Chiefs,
or to anybody, like
where you go.
to the press secretary or anything, you would have an answer of well, this is the first step, and we're still negotiating the details, but essentially, here's what's going to happen. The Joint Chief heard about this on Twitter.
Yep. The press secretary.
The press secretary went up there saying, "Listen, all I know is what he said on Twitter."
Yeah.
This is not normal.
And the important thing is he was watching news and he saw who was testifying before Congress and then was like, shit. No transgenders in the military. Good. All right. That'll distract him long enough. Because there was somebody giving testimony about the illegality of his immigration plan.
Yeah.
So he wanted to distract, and it worked. We were all talking about the ban, but we're looking to see, I wanted to wait and see what the military actually does. I feel like it's one of the things that he'll back off of in 3 weeks, and it was all right, so use this for political theater.
Right.
Back to the real political theater, which was John McCain, who taken insult after insult after insult from the president, then announces he's going to return for the vote. And Trump, for some reason, just assumes it's going to be to cast the deciding vote so that it goes into effect. Praises him coming back and eats those words.
Yeah.
And then after the vote's cast, McConnell gives one of those speeches, I think you said, one of those speeches that you're going to regret when you see it later, where he turns his back on the Democrats, gives John McCain the stink eye for like 3 or 4 minutes while he's saying that we
all needed to hold together and make sure that we stuck by each other and
we didn't do that.
Fix the constituents' concerns about this horrible, horrible, horrible bill.
Yeah,
like that whole McConnell.
God, can we get a speaker, a majority leader with some personality, for Christ's sake? Like, I hated John Boehner, but Boehner, but for the most part, he had personality. Like, he would speak like that, and then you'd get him riled up, and then you'd get all red in the face and start getting passionate. Like, I dig that. That's.
I mean, I think Boehner is a good example now that you bring it up because, Boehner admitted to wanting to sneak into the White House to talk with Obama about policy. And then a lot of people said that when Pope Francis came to visit America and Boehner, a lifelong Catholic, met Pope Francis, something about him changed. And that's when he resigned and he got out of politics and he's just like, I can't do this anymore. There seemed to be some sort of moment where he was just like, everything changed for John Boehner, and it was meeting the Pope.
The new Pope.
The new Pope.
The cool Pope.
Yeah, the cool Pope. Not a Benedictus. But the same sort of thing, I guess, equates with the McCain speech on Tuesday.
Okay.
Like, it just feels like McCain came back and it felt like there was something different about him. Okay. And that's sort of where I was going with if he holds true with this, then I'm very happy that he made this speech.
And we'll see. We'll see what happens. I still think it's likely that because the Republicans control everything, they spit out a really crappy bill, and he holds the party line and he votes for it. He is more likely just going to be the sponsor of it, and it'll be, instead of Trump Care, it might be the McCain
McCain Healthcare Alliance,
McCain something act, the way he had the McCain Feingold Act, and then he can say, look, we did what we promised to do. We repealed Obamacare. We did it with the McCain Murkowski Act, and now he gets to live on as the namesake, and he gets to, by the way, also take that away from Trump. And I don't think that John McCain's a petty guy, but I do think that no matter how great and angelic you are, I think Pope Francis, after being insulted all that time, given the opportunity, would just be like, just to stick it to him. And then afterward be like, well, I'm not going to get into my train of thought. I don't want to really say. I just felt what I said on Tuesday outlined where I was at on this vote. That's just basically it. So, but the good news is that for now, the Trump Care bill is dead. One sneaky thing that wasn't pointed out until later, after McConnell's speech, is that they didn't kill the bill. There was an unobjected motion to move it until later in the calendar. And what that means is that later in the year, after they take up whatever is in the calendar before it, they can take it up. Now, I say that this is sneaky and ghoulish, let's call it ghoulish, because John McCain is looking at possibly inoperable brain cancer. And part of this thing is that if he is the deciding vote against it, that maybe Mitch McConnell is saying, we're going to put it on the calendar, after John McCain dies. Yeah. We'll just hold it out until we have...
After John McCain is long gone, we can deal with this issue again.
Yeah. And shame on you, Democrats, for not objecting to that. You could have literally killed it right there.
Yeah.
And made it go back to committee, made a motion to send it back to committee. That failed before the vote, but instead you just let him table it and send it back to the calendar. I'm not very happy about that. But we have a comment. So if you guys want to follow along, we always stream every episode at facebook.com/O The Anthem. You can see the live stream there. Kate has joined us in the chat. And Kate, hello, Kate. How are you? We did miss the craziness in Maryland. I guess we could just take 2 minutes and talk about that. I don't know how much news you saw about that.
Well, I mean, I saw that there was a lot of rain and tornadoes and...
So in E2 tornado sat down in Kent Island and went across the island.
Yeah.
And apparently no warning. The warning went out at 12:28 and the tornado sat down at 12:30. So people were just not expecting it. I think one person was killed and there was a bunch of injuries, but otherwise it was just property destruction everywhere. So obviously all this week, my thoughts have been with people at home. I've checked in with everybody that I know. I hope everybody is okay and is rebuilding. I think it'll be interesting to go back now. Because obviously it's Christmas time will probably be the first time that I'll be back in Maryland. So
yeah.
To go back and see what everything looks like. But by then, you guys will probably
hopefully be rebuilt.
Yeah, there won't be any signs of that. So one other thing quickly, but we want to get to is that there was a lot going on the other side of the Pennsylvania Avenue this week in the White House. So huge shakeup. Last week we talked about Spicy departing.
Yep.
And unfortunately, Melissa McCarthy will not be my sad part about Melissa McCarthy not being on SNL anymore. But this week, the Survivor White House has lost another contestant.
Yes. First of all, before we get deep into this, I feel like the important prerequisite is that everybody go and find the article in the New Yorker where Anthony Scaramucci. If you haven't seen it yet, just read it in its entirety because it is poetry. Anthony Scaramucci is the new White House communications director, and he basically called up a New Yorker reporter. It's New Yorker, right?
Yes.
Called up a reporter from the New Yorker. And I imagine that in his mind, he was just calling and bitching. Like nothing that he was going to say was going to make it up into an article.
We're buddies and yeah.
But when you don't say that something's off the record, then
it's on the record.
It's on the record. And basically his whole long tirade of Reince Priebus is the leaker and he's going to be resigning by the end of the week, and Steve Bannon's too busy trying to suck his own dick and all this. Oh, it's beautiful.
And hold on, Anthony. Listen, not even Steve Bannon wants to suck Steve Bannon's dick. All right, have you seen that guy? No.
It's not gay if you do it to yourself. Anyway, check that out. So yes, Reince Priebus, the only real Republican in the entire White House,
yes,
has just departed.
Mm-hmm.
He gave an interview to Wolf Blitzer too yesterday that I watched. That was basically like it was kind of like a hostage video where he was just like, "No, everything's great here, Wolf. We've had discussions that if things change, then maybe I would resign, but." It's like, so you've had conversations about resignation before? It's like,
no.
I mean, it's never been like that, but it was all very like, what can I say that won't get me? Because apparently also Trump tweets that Reince Priebus is out as chief of staff, and then they leave him on the tarmac at the airport. Yes. Like, what the fuck?
That is so good. Yeah. That is such a Trump thing to do. Like, sir, I'm sorry, Mr. Priebus. I'm going to have to ask you to exit the plane. Yeah, no, apparently you're out.
You're done.
Sorry. So, and he's been replaced by General Kelly, the head of Homeland Security,
mm-hmm.
who may or may not be leaving his job. Right now, he's doing both jobs.
Yeah.
So consolidation amongst the White House departments, that's not scary at all.
No.
General leading the White House chief of staff as well as the Homeland Security Department, not scary at all. My only hope is that this move is not the first time that it's happened. Getting rid of your chief of staff and grabbing a general to try and get some order in the White House has happened before. It wasn't under Bush. It wasn't under Clinton. It was under Nixon.
Yeah.
So just before the articles of impeachment were moved forward, were drafted in the House. Nixon had fired his chief of staff and brought in a general to be his new chief of staff.
Yeah.
To try and stop some of what he thought were the leaking problems and the issues behind the scenes. So yes, let's hope.
Good luck with that, General Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that Pence is showing his hand a little bit this week, going back to the healthcare discussion. He is a lot more involved than people think he is. And I think if there's testimony about it, we're going to see that Pence is not as hands-off as he appears to be.
Yeah.
And that's good because maybe we'll just get rid of both of them. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, and then we have Orrin Hatch, right? No.
Yes. Well,
Speaker of the House.
Paul Ryan first, and then Orrin hatch, the
Yeah.
President pro temp of the Senate. Yes.
Yes.
But the bigger Trump news that I really want to get to this week is that Trump had the opportunity to talk to some police officers this week.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say Rob doesn't really agree with what he had to say with the police officers.
No.
One comment that I think just puts the tone of it. And he's like, yeah, you know how you guys like put that hand over their head as you're helping them in the car? Yeah, don't do that. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he basically gave police officers nationwide, as he is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and in times of emergency, which clearly we're in, he would take control of the police force as well, nationalizing the police force, gave them permission to abuse prisoners.
Yeah.
Now, especially political prisoners, by the way, especially those who are protesting.
I will say this, not that it makes it any better, but Trump did set up those remarks by saying if you arrest somebody who just killed somebody, maybe you don't care so much about putting that hand up or not tossing them in the back of the paddy wagon.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess at least he's clarifying that he only wants this to be done for the worst of the worst crimes. But I will also say this. We work in a system that is innocent until proven guilty. So even if you were a police officer just walking down the street and then saw from 20 feet away somebody shoot somebody else in the head, technically speaking, until a judge has decided, that person is still innocent.
They are.
Now, the only reason why I bring up innocent before proven guilty is because many would make the argument that Russia collusion is this feels a lot more guilty than...
Yes. We are almost at the see the murder on the street phase of the investigation.
This seems more... This seems like more of a crime being committed in front of us than...
The cop has walked
anything
around,
a cop would see.
Cop walked around the corner, gun still smoking, dead body.
Yeah.
We didn't see the shooting,
right.
But it's pretty evident that something
But according
happened.
to Trump, this guy murdered somebody, so I'm just going to knock his head as I take him into the the paddy wagon.
And here's another thing. Listen, cops, I'm not going to encourage you to do this. In fact, I think that that's the worst thing that could happen. But FBI, if you do have to take the president into custody for, treason, just keep that in mind. Treason has the same penalty as murder. In fact, worse penalty under federal statute than most types of murder. Yeah. So, just saying.
You just knock his head.
Maybe just give him a little knock in the head.
Yeah. But see if the wig comes off.
So we are from a city that was ripped apart by a man dying in police custody.
Still is.
Still arguably is. Although so much more has happened. Can you really say it's just Freddie Gray now? It's like no, I mean Freddie Gray and everything that happened since then.
What Freddie Gray was we had a runaway snowball that was growing bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And then it hit a ramp. Freddie Gray was a ramp.
Yes.
That launched the snowball in the air and gained more acceleration, and then once it hit ground again, started gathering more and more snow.
Right. Yes. But so
it would have still been rolling down the hill. It just now is faster than it was before
and bigger.
Bigger.
Hopefully. So now we have a city that's in that state because a young man, 18 years old, was so physically abused in police custody that he died.
Yes.
And you're giving carte blanche to these police officers to just treat prisoners however they want to be treated.
By the way, last week when we talked about police-related issues, I said that I was almost more mad at the two police officers who were laughing than the one who planted drugs.
Yes.
I would like to say, for the record...
Are we backing up on that now?
No.
Okay.
No. I would like to say for the record, Trump is an idiot. And when he says things out loud and he doesn't think about them, it hurts him for a day or two, and then it goes away. Like, in a week, nobody's going to remember this whole...
He'll say something else
He'll say something even stupider.
Yeah.
And right as Rob and I are preparing the podcast, we'll be like, all right, can we not talk about Trump this week? And then he's just like, I rape people all the time. I think it's fun. It's more fun than actual sex. And I'm just like, God damn it. Now we got to talk about this.
All right,
yeah. The police officers who heard him saying this, cover up the head, or don't cover up the head, just throw him in the paddy wagon, however you want. That was greeted by loud applause and laughter, and all the people behind Trump when he was saying that were all like, yeah, like, I'm like, this is the problem.
Yeah.
I'm more upset at you guys for reacting like that to what he said than the idiot for saying it.
Yes.
Like,
and let's go over the list real quick because several police departments have made it clear that their policies do not follow the instructions of the president.
Right.
And they have apologized on behalf of the president. The Boy Scouts apologized on behalf of the president this week. Reince Priebus apologized on behalf of the president this week.
Yeah.
It's becoming almost a thing that we are apologizing on behalf of the person who's insulting us.
Yeah.
This is something that happens in fascism. This is what happens when the dictator takes over, and it's like, I'm going to insult you, and then you're going to apologize to me and everyone else for me insulting you.
Yeah.
And I want everyone to go out and make an effort to find out what's happening in Venezuela this week. They have an important vote coming up tomorrow as we record this, 2 days ago as you're listening to this, where the opposition is fighting literally the people voting in totalitarianism. The president is about to be given all sorts of powers that will be able to eliminate all democracy, basically. And they are out in the street. They are making homemade Molotov cocktails and gas bombs, and they have homemade shields and gas masks, and they're fighting the police in the street. And at some point, we have to say, when a group of police officers cheers the president saying, you could treat prisoners however you want, and those same officers don riot gear to go to a funeral of a rapper who had been vocally anti-violence in the city.
Yeah.
We have to say at some point, maybe enough is enough, and we need to look outside for examples, and maybe Venezuela is a good example for that. That's all I'm saying. Look at Venezuela and think to yourself, is this something we could do? Because it is.
Yeah. And just one other thought. Just because you brought up nonviolence, and we've been talking about Baltimore a little bit.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be a murder-free weekend coming up next week, I believe.
Yeah.
Where the thing is just don't kill anybody.
Yeah.
I'm never in support of murder in Baltimore. I've been sickened by it for a long time, but I almost want to say nobody listen to anybody who's telling you not to murder this. Because it's the stupidest thing I've ever fucking heard. Because then all they're gonna do is keep saying oh, this is a murder-free weekend too.
No, they're not. They're not. They want to show that the community can come together for 48 hours and not have any violence. Because here's the thing. They're trying to drive the idea that community policing policies are better than what the police do now.
Yeah.
And they're telling the police to stay out of their neighborhoods, that let us handle this thing. And I think that the initial things I'm seeing on Twitter are positive. That the violence, hopefully, fingers crossed, will go down. And if you can show positive community policing results, then this will have a positive impact on the community. And I really, listen, Baltimore, please, for God's sake, 48 hours. Don't shoot anybody for 48 hours. You got beef? Wait till Monday. Just wait till Monday. Just show that we can come together for 48 hours and have no violence. That's all that we ask.
I would love if that just happened. But I have been exposed to the Baltimore political machine for too long to know that if for whatever reason everybody can gather together and not shoot anybody for a whole weekend, then this is not going to end with community policing and new changes to the thing. This is going to end up with Pew going we've done it. We've gone a weekend. Now it's never murder time. Throughout the rest of the year, it's never murder time. The city is not calling
for this. This is the community groups. This is Baltimore Block and all of the other fantastic leftist groups who are calling for this. Because you know what? The fucking leftists are the only ones doing anything in this goddamn country. So join your local leftist group, please. Please. I don't mean Democrats. Democrats aren't leftists. They're just Republicans. So, just saying.
Find out which group is supporting Bernie Sanders the most and go.
No, absolutely do not do that. You can't even see Bernie Sanders from where you should be on the left. You should all be so upset. You moved so far left that you can't see Bernie Sanders. And from where Bernie Sanders is, he can barely see Hillary Clinton. So if you're talking to me about Hillary Clinton, you are a Republican. You are on the right. If you're talking to me about Bernie Sanders, you're on the left, but not too far left. I want you to be over here. I want you to be on the other side of the world. Flat earthers, it's actually a globe. I want you to be over here where we can't even see Bernie Sanders. Move to the Antifa left, please.
All right. Well.
Smash your local fascists. Usually they're wearing uniforms. They're easy to see.
I like how right at the end, we go spiraling out of control.
Who's spiraling out of control? I'm spiraling into control. I am saying we should take positive moves. If we can come together as a community and have no violence, that should say one important thing. We do not need the police, especially the police as they exist now. So let's do what you said last week. Let's fire everybody.
Yeah.
Rehire or get rid of the FOP because yes, let's get rid of the FOP. And yes, you can unionize because everybody should be able to unionize, but not the FOP, not anymore. Fire everybody. Hire back the people who are qualified. Let Michael A. Wood come in and teach them community policing policies because if it works for a weekend, it can work every single day if we do things differently. And if it takes smashing some fascists in the face,
it's not going to be any different.
If it takes homemade gas masks and shields and homemade Molotov cocktails and homemade gas, that's what it takes, and we need to show that. If you're going to have violence, don't use it on each other. Use it on them. Smash fascists.
The opinions of Rob are his and his alone.
They are mine and mine alone.
Do not respect.
Just say.
Oh man. Well, do you know where you can send all your angry hate mail?
Where's that?
OTheAnthem.com. Corey to OTheAnthem.com. O The Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and listener line 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595.
And
Some tells me it'll be busy.
And you can find me on all your social networks at Robert N. Cheek. Make sure you check out robertncheek.com, where you can find links to my political blog, foundingthefuture.us, where you'll find more things like this. And hey, check me out on Twitter, Founding Future, where you'll find more of these opinions and maybe even more extreme. Actually, probably way more extreme. The news website and the books, which are available on Amazon.
By Rob's Books.
And, if you're looking for an instruction sheet on what to do, it's basically there.
Moving along. I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the O The Anthem Podcast.
I'm just waiting for the day where it's just like, William Baker. Yeah, hold on.
Don't ask for William Baker.
Let me get my personal effects.
You're looking for Robert Nathaniel Cheek II. That's who you were looking for, and I will not come quietly. You've been listening to the O The Anthem Podcast, ACAB, part of the O The Anthem Digital Network, FTP. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
How quietly can we get out of